Alrighty, here we go. It is a brand new Flyers Daily for the 17th of December, 2024. Flyers Daily, per usual, brought to you by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. We've got not one, but two conversations for you today. One with Flyers goaltender Sam Ersson, the other with Flyers forward Bobby Brink. Had a chance to catch up with both of those guys yesterday in the Flyers training center after practice. And kind of get a download on where each of them are at. Bobby Brink, of course, coming off playing his first game in Minnesota, where he grew up a fan of the Minnesota Wild. It's a real experience for him. And Sam Ersson, who's had a kind of a strange start to the season, where he came in healthy and played very well, had an injury, came back, played well, but then went out again, and now back in. We'll talk to him about the difficulties of kind of getting into the rhythm of a season, especially for a goaltender where hockey practice, not really designed for a goaltender, but also how he leans on the foundational elements of his technical game in those times and how he's trying to get his legs and fully underneath him with this season. We also talk about that Kirill Kaprizov goal that he gave up on Saturday against the Minnesota Wild. So look forward to that. Also in this episode, we're going to take a look at the Flyers in second periods and why this year they haven't been good overall in second periods and why last year they were much better in second periods from an emailer. But the Flyers will be back in action coming up on Wednesday night. Here's this week in Flyers hockey. Wednesday, they will be in Detroit to take on the Red Wings, who they played last Thursday, got that 4-1 win against. That'll be 7 o'clock Wednesday night, so tomorrow night. And then they're going to see the LA Kings on Thursday at Wells Fargo Center. LA, really having a nice season, the Kings right now. When you look at what they've done, second place in the Pacific Division of the Western Conference, 18-9-3. They won their last one. That was a win over the Rangers, and they're 8-2 in their last 10. So the Kings come in playing really good hockey. We'll see them Thursday night. And then Saturday, the Flyers will be at home. Last home game of the calendar year 2024 when the Columbus Blue Jackets come to town. And then they'll have the break. Well, one more game before the break. They'll go to Pittsburgh on the 23rd, then the holiday break. And then after that, they'll head to Anaheim, Los Angeles, San Jose, after the new year at Vegas and Toronto, and then return home January 7th, also against Toronto, home and home with the Leafs, who are having a great year as well, sitting atop the Atlantic Division of the Eastern Conference. So really important hockey to be played over the next couple of days. And look forward to another week like last week. It was a good week. They win 2 out of 3. They win 2 games in regulation. Lose to the Wild. That would have been a perfect week, obviously. But they took care of business against the teams they were supposed to beat last week in Columbus and Detroit. Need to continue doing that through much more of this season. That's really kind of what prevented them down the stretch last year from making the postseason after they positioned themselves really well to do so. So, again, back at it, coming up in Detroit on Wednesday night, tomorrow night. It'll be hockey night in the Motor City. All right, let's get to our first conversation. Sam Ersson, been in, hasn't been in, back and forth. So far this season, he's played in 14 games. He has started 13 of them. He's got a record of 6-4 and 0-2. He has a .287 goals against average and an .891 save percentage. I think he's been better than that .891 save percentage. And in talking to Kevin Woodley, was texting with him the other day from Ingle Magazine, and we're going to get Woody on very soon. Looking at the underlying numbers for Sam Ersson, the high danger chances and where he ranks in the NHL in that regard. He said he was about top 12 in the NHL in high danger chances. So maybe that .891 save percentage is not really indicative of the job that he's done. But he's been good. Last year, 4 shutouts. He's got a shutout this year, 6 in his career. So here's my conversation, fresh off the sheet of ice from Flyers practice yesterday with goaltender Flyers practice, and joining us on Flyers Daily is Flyers goaltender Sam Ersson. Sam, how's it been? How do you feel since you've been able to get back in?
A little bit better as we come along. I think last game there was some improvements in some areas that I been trying to work back on. I kind of felt like I was in a pretty good spot before I got injured, and coming back, it's definitely been a little bit rusty. So just for me, I know part of it is kind of like accepting that there's going to be ups and downs, and like coming off an injury is sometimes not going to be easy, obviously. So for me, just working hard and trying to be consistent and getting back to like my pillars that I built my game on, and I know that the results will come off that.
It's particularly difficult in the beginning of a season when you're you start, you get off to a good start, then you go out and come back, and then it's like back and forth. It's hard to develop that rhythm, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think it's just small details here and there, really. And for me, just now, just trying to push everything, especially in practice, like getting back to that, having those good habits in the day-to-day process. And like I said, I know that's kind of, it starts there, and then the success kind of comes out after that. So
it's those foundational elements of when things go perfect, I can rely on my foundation. When they don't, I have to go into desperation.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, again, just usually what it is, like when you're finding that everything's not working exactly like you want it to be, it's always, you gotta fall back, keep it simple, just don't overcomplicate things for yourself. Just it's the small things that then will lead into the big things.
One of the things that we've talked about a little bit on the podcast of late is, watching that game Saturday against Minnesota, like you see the kind of juxtaposition of a little bit of an old school goaltender in Fleury who's diving all over the place, takes a ton of ice, but your game is very calm. When did that kind of snap in for you to not overplay how they're attacking you?
I mean, there's obviously a time and a place for everything. I think you can see, I mean, Fleury, what is he, 39, 40, and he's still making crazy saves like that. Like, you can see that athleticism. That's what has made him so successful. So for me, you have to find the balance of things, and I try to just build my foundation on trusting my working in my little area, and kind of. But part of that is being you have to be decisive, and you want to get to your spots quick. So kind of like, especially with traffic, let that traffic build around you and stuff, instead of like trying to getting there late, and then you have to adapt to the traffic instead of the other way around.
Let me ask you about the goal that Kaprizov scores on you. There's a couple elements that I looked at. Number one, that the initial shot comes in off the glass, and usually the glass deadens the puck. It didn't deaden it in that situation. When you look back on that goal, I don't know if you look back on the video of it, I know you're going to say I should have made the save, but then again, if you look at that shot, 3 inches above the goal line, and he doesn't dust that thing off, he just gets it off and hits the window. You're in RVH, but that's just one of those shots you got to tip your cap to the shooter.
I mean, a little bit. It's obviously a very good shot. Like he's smart in that, knowing it's a good. Just because of the shots coming this way, I don't really know what's over there, like what to expect. It's different if it's on the same side. You can kind of like anticipate what the player might move or do. So, but for me, I think it's small things I could do different and put myself in a better spot. There's always like things you can do too.
It's the goalie mentality. You can stop anything.
Yeah, exactly.
This good week for you guys last week. Another big week here before the holidays. Really important for you guys at this time of the year where you're kind of right there. You're playing good hockey. The process is good, but to continue getting results from it.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's such a big thing, and just for us now, don't look too far ahead too. Just take it one game at a time. I think, like you said, we've been playing good, so just believe in what we're doing, trust our game and how we're playing, and knowing that we're going to get wins off of that.
Sam, have a great week. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you very much.
To catch up with Sam and leaning on that foundation of the structure that he can play with. And I love the way he plays because he never overplays his position. Maybe a little bit in his first year in the 22-23 season, he did that, but really kind of got his game under control, has some guardrails on it where he doesn't overplay the position and therefore put himself at a huge disadvantage by doing so. So thanks to Sam Ersson for joining us on this episode of Flyers Daily. Always good to catch up with one of the goaltenders. I had a chance yesterday actually to speak with Ivan Fedotov as well. I didn't tape an interview with him, but I just wanted to ask him why he went to the black tape on his stick. I don't know if people notice that. Mostly goaltenders use white tape on their stick. He went to the black a couple of games ago, and he told me he's just trying to change a few things up. Just triggers the memory to try something different. And he feels like it presents a different look to the shooter. And actually, the black tape on the stick could draw the shooter's eye down, therefore making it easy for him to protect the bottom part of the net. Interesting thought process. I'll have to give it some more thought before I'm really sure that that's the case. Does the white bring the eye down, or does the black bring the eye down? Most goaltenders have the white. Maybe the black does pull it down and maybe creates a different contrast for shooters to look at. Not so sure, but we shall see. Bobby Brink played in 28 games this year. He's got 4 goals, 9 assists, 13 points. His overall game looks much improved. He's moving better. He looks more decisive on the ice. Of course, he is born and raised in Minnesota. And the last time the Flyers, when he was on the roster, were playing in Minnesota, he was a healthy scratch in that game. So this is the first time for him going back home and playing at the rink in the arena where he went as a kid to watch his favorite team, the Minnesota Wild. Pretty surreal experience. Here's my conversation after practice with Bobby Brink. And joining us on Flyers Daily is Flyers forward Bobby Brink. How was playing in Minnesota where you were born and raised? I know that area means so much to you.
Yeah, it was a special night for me and my family. I had a lot of friends and family at the game, and it's special to have them watch the game in person, and I know it's a fun night for them too, so it was a really cool experience all around.
Pretty surreal. You've been in the NHL. You played a lot of NHL games now, but playing in the area where you grew up is a different kind of box to check.
Yeah, I mean, you have a little extra energy, a little extra meaning to the game in some ways. Just because you grew up going there, you dreamt of playing in that arena as a kid. Just growing up a Wild fan, I loved going down to the XL and watching hockey games, and so it was definitely cool to be the one on the ice, knowing that kids are coming down to watch your game and they're excited about it too.
Let's talk about your game because you seem like you have a lot of jump right now. You're skating more burst and those kind of things. Is that something you really worked on in the offseason? I know you had the hip injury that you dealt with for a while, and now are you finding a different gear?
I think I had a good summer in the weight room and got stronger, and I think that's led to maybe faster skating in some ways. I think just going out there and doing my best, and maybe I got a little better, maybe I didn't, I don't know, but definitely feeling good right now.
Are there moments as a player where you feel like certain things click? Like all growing up, you have these little jumps in development, or all of a sudden something clicks. Do you feel that way at the NHL level? Yeah,
I think stuff's kind of, playing a few more games than I had last year now, and just kind of, getting into the flow of things, and it definitely helps translate to confidence and feeling comfortable on the ice, and I think that's kind of what's happening right now.
Another big element of being comfortable on the ice is having consistent line mates. Your line with Noah Cates and Tyson Forster has been together for quite a bit now, as all the lines have. How much does that help you guys knowing where everybody's going to be?
I think, playing with those guys has helped a lot. They're 2 predictable players. They work hard. Playing with Casey and Forey, you know what you're going to get from them every night, and so that's just kind of helped me. Trying to do the same thing and trying to just, as a line, everyone give their best and hope it goes our way.
You got to stretch here before the holidays. How important is it for you guys to continue the process of playing like you're playing with the structure and details, but to get the results too before the break?
It's definitely huge going into a little bit of a break with a couple extra points under your belt. I think kind of just leaves you with a good feeling and excited to get back at it once you kind of leave break with a couple points, and they're huge points right now, and so we're definitely looking for the results right now.
Last one for you. Everybody's seen the videos of you guys, handing the belt off after games, and the tightness of this room seems to be very apparent, and that's a big thing for you guys.
Yeah, we got a lot of good guys in here, and everyone treats each other well, and I think that's led to guys enjoying hanging out with one another.
Bobby, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Thanks to Bobby Brink for taking the time on this episode of Flyers Daily. We appreciate that as always. All right, let's get to this DM, and I want to talk about this a little bit. This came in a couple days ago, or actually a little while back, from Dr. Electrica. No, Thursday it came in. He said, "Happy holidays from the frozen tundra of Montana." He said, "I have a weird question for you that seems to come up a lot, especially in post-game discussions and whenever hockey media discusses analytics." He said, "What's the deal with teams that have, quote, bad second periods within a game?" He said, "Like I said, I hear this come up a lot, but there is hardly ever a means or a reason to why. Some teams have bad starts, first periods, which there always seem to be answers for: travel, back-to-backs, lackadaisical defense, etc. And you'll hear the in-game announcers sum that up with, expect a bounce-back period from the Flyers or whomever. Others struggle in the third with similar reasoning. But that mysterious teams that struggle in the second period, or contrarily, teams that have dominant second periods, is perplexing. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I love the Bush interview. Maybe Kim Dillaball soon, working on that. Happy holidays, Dr. Electrica." It's a great question. And I don't know that I have a great answer as to why some teams have great second periods, some teams don't have good second periods. I don't even know that I would have an answer as to why some teams always start games slow. That was an issue here with the Flyers for about 4 years in the Dave Haxtell era and then into the Alain Vigneault era. I remember even at one point, I think it was Alain Vigneault that decided to change their routine about, especially on the road when the buses get to the rink, to try and find a way to get off to a better start, to stop chasing games because of bad first periods. Now, last season, the Flyers actually were not a good first period team. They were outscored 74-58 in first periods last year. Now, this Flyers team this year and last year is very similar, with the exception, obviously, of Matvei Mishkov, but it's not a huge overturn of roster. So last year, again, 74 goals given up in the first period and 58 goals for. So what's that? Minus 16 goal differential. This year, they are +6 in goal differential in first periods, with 26 goals for and 20 goals against. Now, I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just circumstance. It's hockey. It's not one of those things. It's just the way it is this year. Now, in second periods, last year in second periods, they were dead even. They scored 83 goals. They gave up 83 goals. This year, they're in the rears. They've given up 43 second period goals and have only scored 26. So why is that? Well, look, I think some of it is a byproduct of what happens in the first period. They're a better first period team, so they end more first periods with the lead this year. And the team that goes to the room and didn't have as good of a period as the opposition, there is a regroup and there's a pushback. So maybe that's part of that number. Part of it also is they just haven't been good enough second periods. Last year, where you're even in second periods, but the Flyers were going into second periods down more often than not, maybe play into that, how a team responds to being down. Also, how a team that's got a lead, a multiple goal lead, reacts to having that lead. Do they keep their foot on the gas? Does the human nature element come in that they let off a little bit and let the other team in the game? So, they always say, oh, the most precarious lead in hockey is the 2-goal lead. Well, there's no exact reason why. I've never been a firm believer that it's a coach's job to have professional athletes ready to play from a mental standpoint when the puck drops. That's on the athlete to me. The coach can go in there with some rah-rah speech. We got to do this. We got to be tight here. We got to play hard. We got to check hard. We got to get pucks, all of those things. It's not incumbent upon those words of the coach to initiate the player to be ready to go when the puck drops. To me, these are professional athletes. That's on the player. If you're a pro, your job as a pro is to have yourself, when that puck drops in a game, be ready to go. And it's not some words or some dramatic speech by the coach that should trigger that. I truly believe that. As far as second periods go, I think there is a little bit of part of the coaching thing. There's obviously adjustments you can make and how you're attacking the other team based on what they're showing you. There's also the ability to maybe look at some film and go, okay, maybe these combination of lines. You also have the knowledge of what happened in the first, who's got their legs, who's got jump, maybe who doesn't have jump, and how to bring those things together to have a more successful period. So I think coaching could be more of an advantage going into the second than it is in the first. So I think all those things play into it. But you're right. It is a weird thing how a team takes on a trait of being really good in first periods and not good in second periods in one season. In the season prior, it was just the opposite. I think the third periods, as Dr. Electrica referred to, I think that certain teams are really good in third periods for a couple of reasons. They put themselves in a good position to control the game and then incur less risk because of how they played in the first two periods. And I also think there's a cumulative effect to some teams and how they wear you down. Like if you look at the Eagles, the football's different, I get it, but they're so good in the second halves because they control the line of scrimmage so well, they wear down their opponent. We saw this when the Flyers played Carolina. And if you look at Carolina and watch any of their games and watch them closely, you see that they wear down opponents because they just come in waves. And eventually that wears down the opponent. And the cumulative effect of that sometimes is what the damage they're able to do in third periods. They possess the puck the whole game. So the other team, because they're chasing the play and don't have the puck as much, they wear down more than the team that's got the puck more in Carolina that's dictating the terms. So I think that's maybe an explanation for the third period for some teams. And also obviously putting yourself in a position where you don't have to play desperate hockey because you played a good first and second period and you enter the third period with a good situation on the scoreboard. I think those things do play into it. So that's my explanation. I don't know if you agree. Thanks for the question, Dr. Electrica. I really appreciate it. So we'll crank it up tomorrow. It'll be Flyers Detroit. As the Flyers get back at it, we'll see if they can get a second win over the Detroit Red Wings, who are looking to get themselves in position. Flyers are in position, not in a playoff position right now. Ottawa's suddenly entered this mix. Where do the Rangers fit into this mix? We'll see. So 2 points up for grab tomorrow night. We'll preview that game tomorrow on a brand new Flyers Daily.